taking over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. All right, Carver High, I wanted to go through a couple of things with you first. It's very important that we tell you the SportsGrid app is available on iOS or Android, as you know, and it's incredible. You can actually watch the network on the app. You can listen to the network on the app. It's got the TV side, the radio side. You can follow your favorite hosts like Carver High, and you can get in-game odds. Everything else, it is truly remarkable. The SportsGrid app, it's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Hey, did you know we're streaming on X every day, 7 days a week, all day, every day? Just go to SportsGrid-Live. You'll love it. And did you know you can get the Ferrall Coast to Coast and Ferrall on the Bench podcasts on iTunes every day? The full 3-hour C2C and a 5 to 15-minute recap of sports and a lineup of everything going on with all the odds and everything else in games that night on Ferrall on the Bench. I think you'll dig it. Tonight on SportsGrid, you've got, after this, Game Time Decisions with the Kevin Walsh. That's 6 to 8. And then 8 to 10, you got Scotty Wetzel and the great Dave Sharapan. So opposite picks and Sportsbook Consigliere on In-Game Live. And then 10 to 12, Sports Rage on the radio, Carver and Lisi. All tonight on our TV and radio sides on SportsGrid. All right, as we get into the final hour here, the coup de grace, we start with baseball news. Mike?
No, I still have some straggler stuff that I have to get through for you first. I have to get some of these other straggler stories in before I move on to the baseball. First of all, you sent me that Trevor Lawrence thing. So there was a story from this guy, Ryan Burr, down in Florida. He does Big Ten hoops and a few other things, and I know a few of the guys in Pittsburgh were running with it, that allegedly the Steelers had reached out to the Jaguars about Trevor Lawrence. Now, A lot of people have already refuted this, both in Jacksonville and in Pittsburgh. There are others. This guy's still standing by it. There's others who are standing by it. Now, this doesn't mean that there's like a deal in place, but they have called and inquired about Trevor Lawrence from the Jaguars, allegedly.
Well, listen, first of all, I don't deny that it could have happened, that they could have called about him for sure. And, let's face it, at one time he was considered, elite coming out of Clemson. He was a super high pick and had a gigantic future, and he was going to be a superstar in the NFL. And frankly, I haven't seen any of that. Like, I saw a little sprinkle of it, like a little seasoning of it. You saw a little bit of success, but I've seen a lot more failure. I mean, he's no better to me than Justin Fields. One guy has a big arm that never connects with anyone, and the other guy has an average arm in terms of connectivity, and I think he's got way above average legs. I mean, I think Justin Fields is one of the great runners in the league. He can break ankles. He's a stud. So if I'm going to, trade away everything I have for Trevor Lawrence is ridiculous. He's not worth it. You might as well just sign Justin Fields and play him. I don't think that, people will say, Lawrence is way better than Justin Fields. My ass he is. Trevor Lawrence sucks. What has he done down there besides nothing? Like, stop it. And stop with all your stupid Duval County. I don't want to hear it. They're hair dryer city. They suck. They're so awful. And what are they doing? They fire their coach every other year. They're nothing. I don't want to hear it. Like, the Steelers are bad enough, and they're middle of the pack. At least the Steelers go to the playoffs. They went to the playoffs this year with their two hack quarterbacks. I don't want to hear that. That trade, what's next? The day before, yesterday, it was Aaron Rodgers. Today, it's Trevor Lawrence. Who's it tomorrow? Bart Starr? Honest to Christ, these rumors they start in Pittsburgh, these guys, you know what they got? The spaghetti noodle syndrome. They'll throw the spaghetti noodle against the refrigerator, see if it sticks. Every single day, that kid, I send you that. And I love that kid, but he's a great kid, but he's a spaghetti noodle syndrome. Every day, he wakes up. Like, I think when he goes to bed at night, he dreams of what he's going to say to shock the world every day in Pittsburgh. Calm the F down, bro. Have an Iron City light. Chill out. Honestly, chill out with all your big, bold, ballsy stories that never stick. Honest to Christ. And don't get me started. You know I'm right about it, too.
Yes. There are many people in the Chiefs organization who believe Travis Kelce will retire. Good. God bless and good luck. There's also a clip now. All that inside the NFL, like those sound bites from the sidelines of the Super Bowl are starting to circulate all over the internet. There was at the end of the game, Mahomes and Kelce had a moment on the sideline. Thanks for everything you've done for me.
I love you.
I've always loved you. God bless and good luck.
You've always had my back.
He wants to go and walk away. The top free agents.
Did you see his brother crying? Talking about watching the game, he was crying.
He's very torn.
Honestly,
his brother's on one side, his Eagles are city of Philadelphia on the other side. He was at a lot of internal fighting there going on. I got news for you. He was rooting for his brother, just so everybody wants to know. He was rooting for his brother to win. I can tell you that. That always comes first, and when it comes down to those situations.
Yeah, I don't know. I think once he started dating that chick, he rooted for the Eagles.
Maybe that's possible. Maybe. You never know. The top free agents, as free agency is a couple weeks away in the NFL, Sam Darnold at the top. Okay. T. Higgins, who you sent me that story. The Patriots are allegedly going to go very hard after them. Josh Sweat, I mean, geez, you talk about cashing in. That guy had a hell of a Super Bowl with his 2.5 sacks. Trey Smith from the offensive lineman from the Chiefs. Ronnie Stanley, Milton Williams. That guy was awesome in the Super Bowl for the Eagles. Drew Dahlman, DJ Reed, Javon Holland, and Zach Bourne. 3 guys on the Eagle defense, Scotty, in this top 10 free agents. 3 guys that were really good for them in that Super Bowl win. At least one of them is going to get some huge bag somewhere else. You know how that always goes.
Let me just say this, that I really believe that most teams, when this is just ad nauseum, it happens every time. Most teams that win in sports, they try to find a way to re-sign all the guys that won with them. And I think it's a mistake. I think the reason the Patriots were so good at winning Super Bowls and catching the Steelers at 6 Lombardis was that they didn't do that. What they did was every year they hired guys to do jobs. All right, we're gonna bring this player in, and this is your job. Do nothing else. We don't want you to do anything else. This is what we need you to do on Sundays. We don't really care about Saturday or Friday or Thursday or any day. Just Sunday, I need you to do this job. And that's what they did every year. And every year when the season was over, they got rid of him. We're going to get someone else to do the job. And that's what works. I don't think re-signing all these guys in Philadelphia and giving them tons of money is going to do anything except make that credit card bill at 23% interest even worse. Honestly, I am not buying all the same players again and giving them even more money. What you need to do to be smart in business is, you already got me the title. Thanks so much. Now get out. We've already got it done with you. It's not going to happen again with any certainty, so I'm not giving you a ton of money. Tell your wife thank you for everything and get out.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Mike, I got to tell you, like, seriously, I'm watching this golf, and I played this South course at Torrey. I played them both 20 times. And when it's wet, when it's raining, which is rare, but when it is Dos Equis. I mean, it is wet. And, I mean, the rough becomes like, it's like that fescue in Scotland. It is thick. It is brutal. It is absolutely impossible to hit out. The one thing I've noticed today, the reason that I'm seeing all these high scores is because they can't hit out of the rough. It is so brutal that even the greatest players in the world just cannot at all hit out of it. And it is awesome watching them suffer. There is nothing better to me. It's like there's only one thing I enjoy more than watching Patrick Mahomes get ragdolled. It's watching golfers that shoot, 30 under over 4 days in the PGA, shooting +1. There's nothing I like more than watching them have to be like us and, brought down to their knees because of the conditions, the weather, the wetness, the wind, rain, and the thick rough. I mean, that rough is literally it is shin deep, and it is brutal.
It really is, and you're seeing the big chunks of grass come out when they got a hit out of that stuff. It is just, and the sand is all wet. There's some guy. These balls are completely disappearing. Stewie said yesterday that they cut it on Monday, the grass, and they told them we ain't cutting it again the rest of the week. And we're not cutting the grass out in the rough. We're just gonna let it keep growing. It's gonna rain. It's gonna get bigger.
I love it.
It's a U.S. Open style.
It's the Open Championship this week at Torrey Pines. Let's just call it what it is. It's the Open. It is the Open for the next 4 days. I'm in heaven. Who needs the NBA All-Star travesty when I got the Open going on in SoCal with thick driving winds and rain and deep rough? It is beautiful. I can't get enough of it. It's the Open Championship. It's supposed to be in July, but it's already here in February. It's beautiful. Are you serious?
Got to have it because next week the winner's probably going to be like 35 under at Mexico when they go down to Vedanta. So you can have fun this week because next week's a 30 under special down at Vedanta for it. All right, let's go. We got a lot to do and not a lot of time. Travis Hunter will attend the Combine as a cornerback. Now, you can't do two positions at the Combine. So even though Travis Hunter still wants to and plans to play both corner and wide receiver in the NFL, he had to pick one to do at the Combine, and corner is where he is going to be for that. Speaking of the draft, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss quarterback, is now allegedly quarterback 3 behind Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders for the NFL draft on 70% of the team's boards. Well, who's the third quarterback on the other 30%? That's who I'd like to know. Who's the third guy?
Steelers like him and Milroe, but I personally, I think that Jackson Dart is a better quarterback than Milroe.
I do too. I would want Jackson Dart before I want Milroe. There's not a lot of guys that love in terms of quarterbacks for the NFL in this draft coming up. So we'll have a lot of draft over the next few weeks. We'll continue to get to that. All right, there's some big baseball stuff. Of course, everyone's reporting to spring training this week and over the next couple of days. But our biggest free agent that was still on the board signed late last night. And the Red Sox, who had been looking to spend some money, they just missed out on a few bigger guys. They do get Alex Bregman, 3-year deal worth $120 million, so $40 million a year. He can opt out after each year. So 1 year he can opt out. Now, he turned down, I don't know if you saw this, he had 6-year, $180, 6-year, $190 million deals from Detroit and a few other places, and he picked this deal with Boston, the $40 million.
Well, who wouldn't? It's $40 million a year, and he can leave after every year. Now, look, I hated him in Houston. Now I hate him more.
You're going to hate him more because he killed the Yankees in Houston, as you know, and now he's going to see the Yankees a lot more. And he's the kind of guy, he's got great numbers at Fenway in his career because he can to smash the ball off of that monster in left field. So Alex Bregman's probably going to be a problem. The Red Sox, they might not be they've made a couple of additions here this offseason. They've gotten better, unfortunately.
I hate those mother Ferrellers.
I know you do. Also, San Diego signs Nick Pivetta, 4 years, $55 million.
Overrated.
Have fun.
Honk.
He's one of my favorite guys to go after on Tater Time. He gives up a lot of long balls, so that's good for me.
Serve it up.
So he went to a place where it's hard to hit him. Garrett Cole met the media yesterday. He's in a really good spot. Of course, last year he missed the first 3+ months of the season with injury. Now in a good spot to start this year, and he talks about the Yankees bouncing back after losing in the World Series.
We're really proud of, I think, what we did, and at the same time, walked away from the season with a bitter taste in our mouths.
And you lost. You got your ass beat.
Just a real terrible feeling. And
losing sucks.
As a competitor, you don't enjoy those situations, but every time you step on the field, it makes you tougher. It's another log on your fire that inspires you to put the work in when no one's watching. It is.
We're all
what
watching,
fuels you
bro.
to a certain extent, both winning and failure, right? Like you're always in pursuit of doing just the best you can, and both those results come, along the way with it. So you try to take advantage of, winning and losing, ultimately to win and achieve your goals.
Listen, let me just say this about him. Obviously, he's had a great career and a Cy Young. So I actually think he's getting old. But I think in playoff baseball games, he is still lethal. And he can pitch in a big game as good as anyone in baseball. It's the rest of the year, I don't give a rat's ass what he does. And they work him like a lawnmower. Like he goes out there every 5 days and they use him. And I don't want that for him. I want him in the postseason. That's when he's brilliant.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High. We got a lot going on here and very little time. You put me under a tremendous strain.
Yeah, I'm going to save. I know I did this to you yesterday, but tomorrow's Friday, so I know that I'll get it in. We'll do all the Pirate stuff tomorrow.
Okay.
Because it is spring training, and we'll have time still to talk about all this Pirate stuff when we have more time. But I just don't have it today. I do have time to tell you about college basketball from last night and give you some games for tonight. Duke beat Cal. But that was a fat number. I don't think they covered that. Wasn't it like 23 or 24?
They didn't cover.
They didn't cover that one. Villanova, though, did get the win over St. John's, 73-71. And this is for Luke. You know, Luke, you got to take the good with the bad, and sometimes you got to take the bad. The final moments on FS1.
Down to 12, Poplar. Oh, shit, taking it. Perkins! Big thing. A monster thing.
Oh,
I thought Brinker should have taken it, but he had confidence in that left-hand delivery from Penn.
There you go with Raftery. The next one was my favorite cover last night. I hit Villanova outright, as you know, but this next cover I had was a beauty.
Texas Tech beat Arizona State 111-106 in not one, but two overtimes. They ended up getting that done. And Ole Miss beat South Carolina by 4. Mizzou beat Oklahoma. They smashed them in Columbia. Nice job by the Tigers. And I had to bring this up, too, because there was a bunch of other games last night that you hit. But did you see Bobby Moe smash
Cleveland State?
They smashed them. That was like the first home game Cleveland State's lost all year in conference. Your boy Bobby Moe.
They mean business. Get ready for them from the Patriot in the NCAAs. They mean business.
Let's get to tonight. We'll start with the two ranked games, and then I'll give you some other stragglers. Nebraska minus 1.5. The favorites at home tonight against number 25 Maryland. Memphis minus 6.5 on the road in Tampa against South Florida.
Yeah, I think Maryland is going to go to Lincoln and beat Nebraska, and I think Memphis will win at Tampa against the Bulls. So give me the Terps and the Tigers.
Terps and the Tigers for you tonight. All right, let's do a few other of these smaller games because I got lots of stuff here. How about this one that we have in the Colonial? Charleston and UNC Wilmington tonight. -5.5 for the Seahawks. We've got Marshall in South Alabama in the Sun Belt. Omaha and South Dakota State. Summit tonight. Liberty, New Mexico State in Conference USA. Idaho State and the Grizzlies of Montana in the Big Sky. We're covering it all tonight.
Well, look, Wilmington's going to beat Charleston tonight in Wilmington. They are a really good team. 20-win team. Look out. I like South Bama at home. I like South Dakota State at home. I like Liberty at Las Cruces against the Aggies. And I like the Grizzlies at home. Montana, lay the 4.5.
And we've got some late night. I love the Big West and the WCC getting involved here. UC San Diego, who's having a hell of a year. They're at Bakersfield tonight. They're laying a big number on the road. Oregon State laying a big number on the road in Portland. The Gauchos visiting the Anteaters tonight in Irvine. Let's go. San Fran and Gonzaga, big number, and Long Beach State in Hawaii.
Sorry, I think that UC San Diego will punk Bakersfield on the road. They're really good. They're another 20-win team. I like Oregon State easily to blow out Portland on the road. I like Irvine, the Anteaters at home. I like Gonzaga at home to whack the Dons. It's 14.5 for a reason. Now, look, San Francisco's a 20-win team. Why is it that I have seen them play games and get annihilated? But they lost by 20 at Moraga to St. Mary's. Are they going to cover that big number tonight at Gonzaga? God, they might. It's a dangerous bet. That's maybe too much wood. I am nervous about it. I like Gonzaga, though. And then as far as Long Beach goes, let me see that game. I saw that game before, Long Beach. Yeah, I don't trust them either. I don't trust that number.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
just want to sneak these in. Sac State getting 9 tonight. They're awful against Northern Colorado. I bet Sac State covers that number tonight. I like Pepperdine in Malibu, and I really like Loyola Marymount laying the 11 against Pacific at Loyola. Adam Kaplan is our NFL insider. We just spent a week with him in New Orleans. He was breaking stories, interviewing powerful people, looking good, feeling good. And we've got a double shot with him today on Coast to Coast, per usual, on a Thursday. You can follow him on X at Kaplan NFL, almost 30 years covering the National Football League. We'll start with the Jets, who have spent the last 2 days telling the world that they don't want Aaron Rodgers back. Do you think they'll do it again tomorrow as well?
It's funny, Scott, you asked me, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, what's going to happen with Rodgers? And I said, look, they're going to have a new GM. The GM likely will not have Aaron Rodgers around. They want to get younger at the position, and that's what Darryl Muji is going to do. When you look at that situation with the Jets, they don't have the future quarterback, okay? Let's face it. Tyrod Taylor is under contract for this next season. So is Jordan Travis, who I'm told from talking to people with the Jets, he's seen as a project. So they're another team of my 9 right now, just checking in with other teams. There are about 9 teams that would tell you that they're not sure who their quarterback will be for 25. They could probably tell you who the backups are, but they don't know who the starter is going to be. And the Jets now are among those 9. So, yeah, they're going to move on for Rodgers. Now, Rodgers, Scott, has to make a decision on what he wants to do with his career. And that's the thing. I'm sure he's not going to want to be a backup. Why hang on? He's got all the money in the world. That there's no reason for him to do something like that. So it's going to be hard for him to find another starting job. Now, and you and I will examine some of these teams in future segments, but the Jets are among a group of teams that don't know who their starter is. But here's the thing, Scott. When you look at free agency at the quarterback position, it's not very good. This is not a year to need a starting quarterback.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So let's talk about this free agency list that you have. Very light at quarterback. And I'm going to start with this. Like, the rumors were flying today about the Steelers going after Trevor Lawrence of the Jaguars, and there were all these trade scenarios and everything else. And I want to get your opinion of it because I've already expressed mine. I mean, I'd rather have Justin Fields than him. I mean, I think he is so overrated, it's not even funny. And I think that Fields can really run and break ankles. And I still think if he's working with the right coaches, he could actually be a better passer. I mean, I watched Trevor Lawrence. I think he's gone backwards.
Yeah, what I'm told with that situation, we'll start with Justin Fields and the Steelers. Arthur Smith actually liked Justin Fields. He had a couple minor injuries, and I believe that Russell Wilson won't be back. It's a situation where the Steelers are still look for the future at the quarterback position. Justin Fields, they don't know enough about. They liked his limited work with them, particularly in training camp. Then, as I told you, to start the regular season, no matter what, it was going to be Russell Wilson. And you and I talked about it late in the season. Russell Wilson faded significantly. Sometimes with Russell Wilson, you just get frustrated. He doesn't always get rid of the football when he should. You saw what happened in that Chiefs game. I know you were not happy about that. And the Steelers were not either. So the Steelers are going to have another starting quarterback. That's just the way it is. But if you look at my list, the number 1 guy on it is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold came out of nowhere. You got to give Kevin O'Connell credit, one of the all-time coaching jobs at the quarterback position. This guy never played good football until this season. Former Jets first-round pick, had bounced around a little bit, but it worked with Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer. He's by far the number 1 guy. After that, it's the aforementioned Russell Wilson, who literally right now is a year-to-year quarterback. That's all he really is. At this point in his mid-30s, he's hanging on. He still wants to play. It's very clear. But the bottom line is he's a marginal starter at best. Justin Fields, I agree, is much younger. He's got a lot of upside. But, Scott, here's the thing with Justin Fields. It's a lack of consistency at his game. You need a staff that wants to develop this player, and that's what you're alluding to. You're definitely right about that. He's got skills enough to develop, but you got to be patient with him. You can't keep changing staffs or not giving him a chance to get himself out of it. At this point, you've got to give him a chance to be the guy. But if you look at the rest of my list, you got journeyman Jimmy Garoppolo and his injury history. He's a fine backup. Josh Dobbs has shown he could be a backup. Mason Rudolph, your guy, the former Steeler, right? Andy Dalton, backup. Jacoby Brissett, backup. Winston, backup. Flacco, backup. and Marcus Mariota. That's really it. That's why, Scott, teams are going to look towards the draft this year. I know it's not a great year for the draft, but you're going to hear the name Jackson Dart from Mississippi.
Right.
He's a guy. He's going to go in the top 50. He could go, Scott, late in the first round. Bo Nix. We were talking about Bo Nix last year at this time. Most people around the league did not think he had a chance to go in the first round. Had a great offseason, and Sean Payton fell in love with him, and you saw what happened. He not only was a starter, they made the playoffs.
Do you think that the Steelers would draft Dart, or are they going to draft a corner or something else? Like, obviously they have, they don't have any quarterbacks. Their future is screwed. They got to make a move. They already gave up on Pickett, and now the guy has a ring.
Yep. Yeah, and Scott, a couple things here. So you're right, a corner. They do need a corner opposite Joey Porter Jr., but when you look at that situation and you talk to the Steelers, they will tell you they are in dire need of wide receivers. They got one starter, and that's it in George Pickens. So Roman Wilson, who they were very high on coming out of the draft, he had two different injuries. He wasn't ready to play, although I'm told he was over both the hamstring and high ankle sprain late in the season, but they chose not to play him. Receiver right now is the number one need of that football team. Then corner, there's no question about it. But I could tell you from talking to the Steelers, they're feeling pretty good about their offensive line. They're going to get a couple of injured guys back. They think they're going to be fine there. It's receiver, and it's corner and quarterback. I would agree with your assessment, though, on the quarterback. They need
how in God's name can this kid Wilson, who's all but 23 years old, not be better already? I mean, how long does it? I have never heard of a guy with an ankle sprain. What's it going to last? 2 years?
No, he's good to go. No, he was actually good to go late in the season.
So why can't he be the new receiver? He was a stud at Michigan.
He was, but right now he's got to prove it. He wound up never contributing, and that's the problem. They don't know what they have with the player. I know, but Mike Tomlin, man, he gets down on rookies. He doesn't give them much of a chance. If they're down and out with an injury, you don't give much of a chance. But he's good. It's going to be this. It's going to be about the offseason with Roman Wilson, but they still need pretty significant help at the receiver position. For them to be a solid playoff contender, it's receiver, it's cornerback, and quarterback. They've got a ways to go here.
So let me ask you, the number one that I'm hearing every day is Cam Ward, that he's going to be the number one quarterback taken, and not Sanders. Meanwhile, Sanders had way better numbers, frankly, even completions. It was like 73 to 67 in terms of completions. Is it really that glaring that Cam Ward's the number one pick? Is like, look, I like Cam Ward and everything, but let's calm down. He lost to Georgia Tech. He got his ass beat by Syracuse. He got his ass beat by Iowa State in the bowl game, which he played like 2 series. I don't know what to think of him as a number one overall pick. You got to be kidding me.
Honestly, if you're just grading by the best player in this draft, it's Travis Hunter. Okay,
right.
If you're a team that needs a quarterback, I told you guys this weeks ago on SportsGrid, particularly in the Pro Football Today show. We were talking about the quarterback group. Cam Ward is the most talented quarterback for this draft. You got to get through the interceptions, the incompletions. You know, he's a super aggressive thrower. You got to figure out why he misses certain throws, but he is really gifted. He is the top quarterback for this draft. I don't think it's particularly close. Sanders is second. Jackson Dart's a guy who a lot of people in the league are high on. I saw him at the Senior Bowl during the week, during practice. He certainly opened some highs, but there's a distance between those two and Dart and others. There's no question about that.
When we come back, we'll talk to Adam about the Eagles and see if my theory holds any water with him about they have all these guys that want big bags of money. And I said, since they already won the Super Bowl and the ring and the Lombardi, I'm not giving them all the money. Thanks for your effort. Thanks for the ring. Thanks for the title. See you later.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass on the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
So we're talking to Adam Kaplan, our NFL insider, and everyone's favorite on Coast to Coast for his bust a cap in yo ass segment and nickname. So I want to start with this. First of all, I'm not bringing Brandon Graham back. He's 37 years old, and I'm not paying 37-year-olds to do anything except work in the front office. I need a 23-year-old, 22-year-old athlete, pure and simple, that I can manage fiscally. I also am not bringing back, frankly, Sweat. I thought he had his best year. I don't think he'll ever do better than what he did. You told me about Hunt. They got him under wraps. He grew 5 inches and is a monster. For me, just you win it all. They were great. They were dominant. It was unbelievable. It was the worst Super Bowl ever. Unless you're a Philly fan, they're up 34-0. The game was just a disaster. But the fact is, I am not running a team where I'm just going to, here, we won a title, so let me give everybody a ton of money to come back and run it back. The Patriots used to win by hiring guys every year to do jobs. And I think Howie's smart enough. I think Howie Roseman's the best GM in the National Football League. And I think he'll figure out a way to not give all these guys, they think they're all going to get rich. I don't think they're all going to get rich in Philadelphia.
Well, Scott, let's first start on offense. Now, they only have one key player, Mekhi Becton, who'd never played guard in his life. An unbelievable story. He got in really good physical shape. He held up, Scott. He only missed a couple games due to injury. He did a great job. Now, his contract's up. He signed a 1-year, $5 million deal. Tyler Steen's the kid that they drafted a couple years ago, who was a tackle at Alabama. He's the guy that's going to replace him. I'd be surprised if Becton's back. Mekhi, though, the cool thing for him is he's shown he can play both tackle positions and guard. But it's all about defense. Milton Williams, number 93, Scott. I think if you ask the Eagles this, they would probably tell you that they would agree with me. From a consistency standpoint, he was their best defensive player. Yes, Jalen Carter's more talented. Don't get me wrong, number 98. But Milton Williams out of Louisiana Tech is an unbelievable football player. Good every year, and he was phenomenal this season. He's a free agent. He could command a deal around $20 million or more. It's a lot of money. That's where it's going now. That for guys from the interior who could play the run and rush the passer, like Williams, you just don't find these guys in free agency. He's been a phenomenal third-round pick. Josh Sweat, you mentioned him, number 19, who was drafted in the 4th round in 2018. He's been a terrific football player. Now, one thing we need to mention about Josh Sweat, he took a massive pay cut to return to the Eagles this season. He changed agents, played really well, stayed healthy.
It's not happening again.
Yeah, well, I would be surprised if he's back. I'm not saying it won't happen, but you mentioned Jalix Hunt, Scott. Let me explain to you who Jalix Hunt is. This guy was a safety at Cornell. Okay, he had a growth spurt, 4 to 5 inches when he was 19 years old. 6'5", 250. He's number 58 wearing Trent Cole's old number. It was phenomenal in the Super Bowl game. He's gotten better and better and better. Now, on your point earlier about Brandon Graham, this is a good point you made. What happened was Hunt was not supposed to play this season. It was going to be Bryce Huff, who signed for $17 million a year, and Brandon Graham. Their first 4 edge rush spots were taken. Hunt was the 5th. You don't dress 5 edge rushers. Graham tears his triceps. Jalix Hunt has a wrist procedure, also didn't play well. We're talking Bryce Huff, excuse me. And then Hunt gets thrown into service and gets better and better and better. And remember, Nolan Smith, by the way, Nolan Smith was their 4th edge rusher to start the season. Now, he's a bona fide starter. So you're right. Howie set this thing up extremely well for the future. You're also right. You can't re-sign everybody. Cap is not the biggest issue in the world. It's more cash. You got to be careful how much cash you tie up on defense. But they've drafted so well since really 2021, one of the best drafting GMs since then in Howie Roseman. So they're in good shape. But Zach Bond is the big one. Scott, he never played inside backer in his life. He came out of nowhere, became a first-team All-Pro. I know talking to Greg Cosell from NFL Films, Greg actually thought that if you compare the tape of Bond and Fred Warner, that Bond was better this season. That tells you how he came out of nowhere. So, and by the way, that kind of deal that he's going to get could average at least $13.5 million. He signed for 1 year and $3.5 million this season with the Eagles. It's incredible what he did.
Okay, so that's a disastrous leap for them from 3 to 13.5. But I would keep Bond and your boy Williams that you talked about. I think the tackle is a badass. Those are the 2 I would keep. Let's talk about the Chiefs. How do they nicely push Travis Kelce out the door because he's shot?
Yeah, it's really interesting. For many years, Scott, Kelce was unstoppable. But from talking to players, tight ends and receivers, when they're in their 30s, as they progress in their 30s, their legs just go. Like when you lose your legs, your ability to be explosive, you got to call it quits. And if you would have asked me this 3 or 4 weeks ago, I would have said, nah, there's been no hint of it. But he slowed down. Scott, first time in his career for a season, he averaged less than 10 yards per catch. 8.5 yards per catch is really low. Now, the Chiefs don't really have a replacement. They've got Jared Wiley, who's what we call an inline tight end, a wide tight end who suffered a torn ACL, I'm told, in a Friday practice. Noah Gray's a pretty good athlete, but he's really not a starting tight end. So they've got some issues at tight end.
He will be.
Well, they're going to have to combine those 2 guys together because they still need to help a tight end. But the big thing is, Scott, one of the biggest reasons why they got smoked by the Eagles is they don't have a left tackle. They moved Joe Thuney from left guard to left tackle. He's not a left tackle. He struggled mightily. You saw him get pushed back. Their offensive line, who is horrendous. They need a left tackle in the worst way. They need corners. They need to help Trent McDuffie. They got to make a decision with McDuffie. He's a full-time outside corner. He was the best nickel in the National Football League previously this season, but now they've been playing him on the outside, so they got to do that. So they need a left tackle. They need a tight end, and they need a corner. So they've got a lot of work to do. The Eagles have more key free agents than the Chiefs do, but for the Chiefs, man, they're just not the same. And I think what happened, Scott, when we analyze what happened to the Chiefs this season, only 2 games of 30 points or more. One of them was in the playoffs. They've been on a steady regression offensively, and they got to get this thing on the right path.
Yeah, the only game they scored 30-plus, it was the Bills game of all games that Buffalo gives up that big amount. It was unbelievable. Adam, great job at New Orleans at the Super Bowl for SportsGrid. Good to see you. Enjoy your weekend.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop you back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Everybody loves leftovers.
Everybody does love leftovers. Let's see what we can finish off with here today. A few college football notes. We did some draft stuff earlier. Also, Arch Manning, who will be the starting quarterback for Texas this year, focus on adding speed and strength as he gets ready to take over the job. Apparently, he's allegedly going to try to be as fast as Jaden Daniels, have as much arm strength as several others. Arch becoming a superhuman before he takes over as the Texas quarterback next year.
Wonder how much money they're paying him to play in Austin. I think they're going to be phenomenal with him at quarterback because I got to tell you, I mean, they were dangerous with Ewers, and I think Manning's better. I think Sarkisian's got a real loaded team with that guy at quarterback. If he's standing and upright and healthy, look out.
Be very careful, that's for sure. Also, did you know the Ohio State wide receiver room for this coming season? Now, they've had some stacked wide receiver rooms, as you know, over the years, particularly also in 2021. They will have count them, five-star wide receivers at their disposal this coming year. How about that? Getting involved. The Ohio State Buckeyes.
Wide receiver U.
Wide receiver U. You might as well go and call them. Here I have this. You sent this yesterday. The best home records in college football over the last 10 years. Alabama tops 65-3.
I mean,
Ohio State, Georgia,
look at that.
Oklahoma, Oregon, Michigan, App State, Notre Dame, Liberty, Memphis, Penn State. How about that? Only 3 losses. You see them there for Alabama, 15, 19, and 23 at home in Tuscaloosa.
I mean, that is crazy. And he's gone now, Saban, and DeBoer's in there, and they still win. It's crazy.
Our last look at the Genesis, and then, of course, tomorrow we'll have round number 2 for you at Torrey Pine South. Scotty Scheffler, Seamus Power, and Patrick Rogers all at 3 under right now. Davis Thompson, Lucas Glover at 2 under. There are a few other guys at 1 under, but most of the field just getting smashed with some really big numbers on the back end. In fact, there are only 25 players either at even or under par so far
What a
today
shame.
at Torrey Pines. Rory right now is not one of those players. Here he is yesterday. We've heard him talk a lot about LIV and the PGA. He says it's time to end all of it. And let's just get everybody on changing his tune. Here's Rory.
Whether you stayed on the PGA Tour or you left, we have all benefited from this. And I've been on the record saying this a lot. Like, we're playing for $20 million prize fund this week. Like, that would have never happened if LIV hadn't come around. So I think...
Oh, so now you like him.
I think everyone's just got to get over it. And we all have to say, okay, this is the starting point.
You were the
and
number
we move
one guy
forward.
losing
We don't
his
look
mind
behind
about
us.
it.
We don't look to the past. We just, whatever's happened has happened, and it's been unfortunate. But reunification, how do we all come back together and move forward? That's the best thing for everyone. So, like, if people are butthurt or have their feelings hurt because guys went and whatever, like, who cares?
He was the poster boy for butthurt.
He's unbelievable.
He was right out in front. He was the spokesman for anti-LIV. I mean, this guy lost his mind about LIV golf. That's crazy. All right, Ferrall finish. Former Steeler quarterback. They loved him. Duck Hodges engaged to country music star Lainey Wilson. I guess she's important or something. I did see her. She's kind of hot. She is hot. So good for Duck. FIFA suspends an employee after a reported tryst, a sex arrest in Miami with an underage kid. The employee was apparently sleeping with a kid. I mean, like a kid. A car in Munich plows into dozens of people in Germany. A driver arrested. The driver was a teenager driving a Mini Cooper, killing people. I mean, this is now happening everywhere. New Orleans, Germany. There are sex aphrodisiac mushroom hunters in Nepal, and they are selling said mushrooms in Whole Foods. You heard me. People are going crazy for sex mushrooms, Carver High. Florida lawyer busted smuggling legal docs soaked in K2 into the jail for inmates. I have seen it all. GTV is next with Kevin. And get my app. Search for I'll see you tomorrow at 3. A Kaiser.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.